Over 1,200 warships and 100,000 soldiers sit in the harbor of Aulis. This is the largest military force ever assembled in the ancient Mediterranean. These men are mobilizing to cross the Aegean Sea and burn Troy to the ground. Their objective is far removed from standard territorial expansion or a border dispute. Instead, this conflict traces back to a wedding invitation, a single piece of fruit, and a teenage shepherd's terrible romantic choice. The war ignited through a massive chain reaction of divine vanity, dragging thousands of mortal men directly into the crossfire. The path to Aulis began on Mount Olympus. Zeus, the king of the gods, was terrified of a secret prophecy. The sea nymph Thetis was fated to bear a son who would become far greater than his father. To neutralize this threat to his throne, Zeus forced Thetis into a mortal marriage with a human king named Peleus. Zeus invited every deity to the wedding feast except for one, Eris, the goddess of discord. Seeking vengeance for the slight, Eris crashed the party with a weapon of psychological warfare. She tossed a golden apple onto the banquet table, carved with a single word, Callisti, to the fairest. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite immediately fought over the prize. Refusing to step into the argument and anger his family, Zeus passed the judgment down to an unsuspecting mortal, a Trojan shepherd named Paris. The three goddesses cornered Paris on Mount Ida, each offering a bribe. Hera promised absolute dominion over Europe and Asia. Athena offered tactical brilliance on the battlefield. Aphrodite offered the hand of the most beautiful woman on earth, Helen of Sparta. Paris picked Aphrodite. In that moment, he gained the protection of the goddess of love, but earned the bloodthirsty wrath of Hera and Athena. By selecting a romantic prize over power or wisdom, the shepherd guaranteed that two of the most powerful entities in the universe would actively work to destroy his city. Paris traveled to Sparta to claim his prize. When he arrived, he was bound by Xenia, the sacred code of guest friendship overseen by Zeus himself. It required hosts to offer absolute protection and guests to show absolute respect. King Menelaus of Sparta followed this code perfectly. He hosted Paris for 9 days, and when called away to a funeral in Crete, left his wife Helen and his entire kingdom in his guests' care. Paris waited for Menelaus to leave before shattering the code. He took Helen and emptied the royal treasury of its gold and silver before fleeing into the night. By breaking the law of Xenia, Paris committed a divine felony. He provided the Greeks with the moral and legal justification to wipe Troy off the map. Launching an invasion of this scale required an army, and getting independent kings to fight together required leverage. Years earlier, Helen's foster father had faced a crisis. Dozens of warlords wanted to marry her, and they were prepared to start a civil war if they were rejected. This network diagram shows Bronze Age Greece, fractured, independent city-states. To maintain order, Odysseus proposed the Oath of Tyndareus. Every suitor swore a blood pact to combine their armies and violently defend Helen's husband. This treaty gave High King Agamemnon the excuse to conquer Troy's trade routes. Agamemnon dispatched heralds across the Mediterranean. He used the oath to draft every king, threatening to brand anyone who refused as a traitor to Greece. The legal treaty engineered to prevent a local civil war provided the exact mechanism for a catastrophic regional conflict. Despite the binding oath, several key Greek heroes knew the war would be a bloodbath and tried to escape the draft. Odysseus tried to fake insanity by plowing white salt into the beach sand. But the Greek envoys saw through the trick, throwing his infant son directly in the path of the plow blades. Odysseus swerved to save the baby, exposing his sanity and forcing him to pack his armor. The army also needed Achilles. His mother, the nymph Thetis, knew the war would kill him, so she hid him on the island of Skyros, disguised in a dress among royal princesses. Odysseus tracked him down. He laid out jewelry for the princesses, but placed a bronze sword and shield at the bottom of the merchant chest. When Odysseus sounded a fake alarm, Achilles instinctively grabbed the sword, choosing his warrior instincts over his disguise. Neither human cunning nor divine interference could outrun the geopolitical trap Agamemnon had set. Returning to the harbor of Aulis, the scale of this mobilization becomes clear. These 100,000 men were divinely manipulated and legally bound to these ships. The mobilization is the culmination of a compounding chain reaction: a slighted ego on Mount Pelion, a broken sacred code in Sparta, and a weaponized treaty in Mycenae. But just as the army is ready to launch, the winds completely die. The fleet is trapped. Weeks pass, food rots, and mutiny grows among the starving soldiers. The goddess Artemis froze the winds because Agamemnon killed a sacred stag. To get the winds blowing again, the High King is about to be presented with a horrifying personal price.